Question 1 was a interesting one, a slightly different format to what you're used to. You've got a table, but it's the same principles on how you work out the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied. We were going to have to set the equilibrium, the supply and the demand. We need to set them equal, find the price at which they set themselves equal. The tricky thing is in this question, it required you to show that the demand had increased by 3,000 units. So that means in my table, I am going to increase the quantity demanded. I'm going to add to these numbers 3,000 units. In this table, that would be 3. So the 8 is the 5 plus 3, the 9 is the 6 plus 3. That's how I get the new quantity demanded. And I'm going to repeat for the quantity supplied. Quantity supplied has also had some changes. It's increased by 1,000 units. That means increase these values, increase them by 1, and you get the 10, you get the 9, you get the 7, and the 6. Now I have supply and demand, and I set them equal to each other. That is equal at price 24. And the quantity corresponding to that equilibrium is 9, which means 9,000 units have been sold at price 24. So that's the equilibrium, price 24, and the quantity 9,000. To work out XED, be sure you learn this equation, percentage change in the quantity demanded of one good divided by the percentage change in the price of the other good. The question will hopefully tell you what is that. So here the question was nice. They gave us the 5% increase in the price of tobacco that goes on the bottom. And they've also given us that the XED value is 0.16. So what we need to do is we need to just simply rearrange that equation so that we can calculate X, which is the percentage change in the quantity demanded of e-cigarettes. If we do that, we do 5 times 0.16, and then we get 0.8. Remember to check that in the exam, don't circle it like I did. And to work out PED, the next question, want a new color. To work out the PED, remember that equation, percentage change in the quantity demanded of the same good as the percentage change in the price. Here is how to work out percentage change. You do new minus old divided by the old one. I find it funny because I think it spells no. And if you work this out, remember that minus, don't forget it. You should get something along the lines of 1.22, and it's going to be a minus, and that would be your final answer. So just underline it a couple of times. The change in the total sales revenue. To work out a sales revenue, do the price times the quantity. I've grabbed the price from above. It's £7.20, put a pound sign there, times 97 million units sold, giving you a revenue of 698.4 million. Repeat that again. And then this way you get the revenue has changed by 53.92 million. It's decreased, that's why I've got that negative. Be sure you don't miss the negative. Inferior goods, these are goods that you buy more as your income decreases. So that's going to be a positive, that's going to be a negative, giving you a negative sign. So B is the answer. Subsidies are good fun, but they can also be tricky in your diagrams. Did you know that the subsidy, you can always find it by taking a look at the gap between your supply curves. That vertical distance is your subsidy per unit. So I don't have any numbers there. Luckily, I do have numbers somewhere else. The gap between here and here is going to be the same gap as everywhere else because it's a parallel curve. So the subsidy per unit is 1023 minus 455 into calculator 5568. Watch out for the units, it's rupees. That's your subsidy per unit. That's how you can find it out for any question. Subsidy per unit is the gap, the vertical distance between your supply curves. That's not what we're asked, I just went on a tangent. We have to work out the total cost to the government. So what we do, we multiply the subsidy per unit, which is what we have just worked out, times by the quantity sold. So that with the subsidy is going to be 1.8, not 1.5. And that gives us this very large number, which is in rupees. The share of the subsidy received by consumers is a bit of a contradiction perhaps, because the subsidy is given to the firm. Remember that they got all of the gap between the supply curves. They got all of this blue kind of line there. I'm just going to kind of emphasize all of that was given to them in terms of the supply, the subsidy. And of that subsidy, unfortunately, they had to kind of give up, or fortunately, depending on how you see it, they had to give up that much money, which is then brought to the consumer. So the consumer has been able to keep this amount of the subsidy. So how do we work it out? We say that the consumer has been given 526 minus 455 out of the total subsidy, which is 568 rupees. It's a percentage they're asking for. And if you then work that out, you will get the subsidy being approximately 12.5%. Producers, they had all the subsidy in the beginning. They had 100%, but they've had to give 12.5, meaning that they keep 87.5. Subsidies are going to increase consumer surplus. Here's why. They decrease the price of the goods. So that means the difference between what you're willing to pay and what you actually pay increases. Here you can see the consumer surplus has increased to the red area before it was the green area. Okay, here we have to draw a graph showing the impact on this business of a fall in demand. So if you have a fall in demand, you are going to experience a decline in your demand curve. So your demand curve is called your AR. So that's going to decrease, it's going to shift left. That's shifted totally left to D2. That should go below the axis. This is quantity and this is price, and we've got MR. When you shift your demand curve in, did you know that your MR also shifts with it? So that's going to go all the way down here. That's going to be MR2. So all else equal, let me draw the average cost, and then MC cuts through the minimum, which I've kind of nearly got. The original equilibrium, I'm assuming this company will profit maximize. So I'm assuming they would have originally set Q1. They always set a price on their demand curve, which is going to be P1. The costs at Q1 is there. So how you work out profit is revenue minus cost, which you can simplify down to this. That's why I'm finding all of these numbers, P1 minus AC1 times Q1. That would give me the profit area. You can imagine that's actually within the square that would be there. And now with the new MR curve, you're going to get a new MC equal MR. That's going to be Q2. Go up to the demand curve, which is the red line. Go across, that's your price. And then your average costs are just this little bit higher than your initial average costs, giving you the profit area of this green area there. So profit falls from, if you're in the exam, you'd have to use black. So my suggestion is just kind of label each of these coordinates, maybe label that B, from P1, A, B, AC1 to P2, so that's C, D, AC2, and that should be just fine. Watch out for these words. This company is a company with lots of brand image, lots of market share. They do construction equipment. Can you imagine that kind of machinery required? It's going to be very difficult to compete with them. So that would be a low contestability market. Fixed costs don't vary with coffee. units sold. So the only one that doesn't really change is rent. Rent will of course change with time if the company wants to scale their business, but that's in the long run, that's not really in the short run. The fixed costs don't change as more units are produced. In the short run, variable costs do. 13% profit this company makes. They've told us the price is $2.27, so we multiply them together and we get that the profit per cup is approximately 0.3. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it was really helpful. Remember to download the solutions below so you can add them to your notes, and leave any comments if you like any future videos. And thank you very much. Bye.